Welcome to Now Books and Things with Tom. And today I have a special guest. Of course, they're all special. I don't mean that, but this is a special town guest. My guest today was recently elected as the first selectman of the town of Stonington. His name is Rob Simmons. Welcome, Rob.
Well, thank you, Tom. Pleasure to be on the show.
I'm glad you could make it.
Me too.
We want to tell the people what's going on in Stonington and all the good things that are happening.
Well, you said I was recently elected. That was true in November. I ran with Mike Spellman against George Krause, our mutual buddy and good friend, good guy. I've known him for 30 years. You went to school with him.
I went to school with him.
Did he teach you how to play tennis, Tom? That's what I want to know.
No, but he lived actually, when I was a kid, he lived on the opposite corner of the same street.
Is that so?
Oh, we went to grammar school the whole bit.
Well, there you go. So, I mean, good guy. I met him back in the 80s when we were on the police commission together during a period of time when we had that very unfortunate Pawcatuck rape, and there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of bad things were happening, and I served with George then. That was after I ran against Jim Sisk, who, of course, Jimmy, wonderful guy, who very sadly passed away with quickly. It was sad, but very quickly, and we honored him in town by lowering the Stonington flag for 3 days and raising a special American flag to honor him. We honored him with a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Board of Selectmen.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Because, you know, both he and George, they're like me in the sense that they dedicated their lives to public service.
Absolutely.
Their public service mostly was in Stonington. Mine was a little bit in Stonington, a little bit in Washington, a little bit in Taiwan, China, a little bit in Vietnam.
Wow.
But, you know, with the military and the Central Intelligence Agency, I traveled around a lot, and then I worked for the U.S. Senate. So in a way, serving on the Board of Selectmen and running for first selectman, in many respects, was like a dream come true.
It's like getting back to the grassroots.
Getting back home.
Yeah.
You know, because I ran for selectman in '85 against Jimmy, and of course he beat me. I mean, he was so popular and everybody knew him. But I did it because I'm a Republican and they didn't have a candidate. And actually at the time, I'll tell you a secret, don't tell anybody.
Yeah, okay, we got
turn down the dial. I was unaffiliated.
Oh, is that right?
I was unaffiliated because I'd been in the military and I'd been in the CIA, and I didn't think I should have a political party. So I was unaffiliated, but I was invited to run by the Republican Party in Stonington. So I went up to town hall and I changed to a Republican.
Yeah.
And then I started talking to the people on the town committee and said, okay, I'm ready to go. What do I do? How do I win? And they said, oh, you're not going to win. You're going to lose. We just need somebody to run. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on here? So anyway, I ran, and I did lose. I think Peter Dibble beat Nicky Keppel. Jim Sisk beat me. And then Nick Keppel had 100 more votes than I did, so he got the spot. But Nick and I got to be friendly, and Jim, and so when there was a vacancy on the police commission, they put me on. Not Peter Dibble, but Nick and Jim Sisk put me on. So I did that for 2 years. I was chairman for 2 years and worked with George a lot. So, you know, here we are 30 years later. I mean, it's unbelievable.
And
I'm running against George, and Jim Sisk was going to run against Mike Spellman.
Right.
And yet Jim Sisk had served with Mike's dad, Jim Spellman, as selectman.
Yeah.
For what, 3 terms? So, you know, small town.
Yeah.
Small town. Everybody knows everybody.
I went to school with Jim. He's
so
3 years older.
Yeah. And you know, that's...
And Dibble.
That's well, there you see?
I've been around a long time.
You know, you've been around. So when I look at the town of Stonington and I look at the job of the first selectman, first and foremost, you work for everybody.
Yeah.
You don't work for one party or another party.
No, absolutely.
I may come from the Republican Party. I'm glad that they nominated me. I appreciate it. I appreciate that.
Sure.
But you know, once you're elected, you got to serve the whole town.
Absolutely.
You can't play favorites.
And that's the only way we can get things done.
It's the only way we get things done. And they're not doing it in Hartford, and they're not doing it in Washington.
No, no.
It's too bad.
Not at all.
Not at all. So when I had a swearing-in ceremony in a Como, you know the Como.
Yep, yep.
And I had Mike Spellman with me, and I had Kate Rotella, first woman Democrat to be elected to the Board of Selectmen.
That's right,
Now Glee McAnanley was the first woman Republican.
Yeah.
And I took her position back in 2014. I took her position when she left town. But Kate is the first Democrat woman to hold the position.
Yeah.
So we got sworn in together.
Huh.
And what
That's
we
cool.
said was, we're going to get sworn in together. We're going to work together. We're going to do what we can do for the best of the town for as long as we can. As long as we
Well,
can.
I wish you luck because we're all looking forward to things being done right.
Well, and the only way you get things done right is you listen to a lot of people. You know, my mom was a lifelong Democrat. And she told me one time, she says, she didn't like politics. She didn't like that I was a Republican. She didn't like I was in the Army. She didn't like any of those things. But she didn't like I was in politics. She wanted me to be a school teacher. But that didn't work out. So one day she tells me, she says, you know, she's looking at me and she says, you know, maybe God made you for politics. And I'm like,
Wow.
wow, Mom, lifelong Democrat. Whew, that's, you
Gee.
know, that makes me feel pretty good. And I said, why do you say that, Mom? She says, because you got a small mouth and two big ears. If you use the ears and not your mouth, you'll do well. So anyway, I said, well, I'm not sure that's a compliment, but I will listen, and you got to listen to people.
Absolutely.
Got to listen, because you see, and this is since you do books and things. This is a book I carry in my pocket. I've carried in my pocket a version of this for many years, because the first three lines of the Constitution say, "We the people." We the people. It doesn't say we the politicians.
No.
It doesn't say we the king and queen. It doesn't say we the Ayatollah, Ayatollah Khomeini. We the czar. We the dictator. It says we the people.
Yeah,
And I believe that.
yes.
I believe it. I
I
believe that the
totally
people
agree.
are sovereign. And so when people come up to the town hall, they'll say to me, Tom, they'll say, and they used to do this in Hartford and they do it in Washington, D.C. Could we come into your office? And I would say, no. It's like, oh, really? I said, no. And I'll tell you why. It's not my office. It's your office. So come on in and look at your office. Because you see, I'm just sitting there for a while.
Yeah, you're polishing the desk.
That desk and that chair and that office, it's been there long before I showed up. And I hope it's going to be there long after I'm gone.
Yep.
But that's the kind of attitude you need to have.
Yeah. But
That-
you know, it's been a lot of people sitting in that chair,
Oh, yes.
and most of them have done a great job.
They've worked hard.
Yeah, and
They've
it's
worked
an
hard.
honor to have you there. So
Yeah. Well, you know,
Congratulations.
David Johnstone sat in that chair.
Yeah.
I was a summer person in Stonington. I grew up with Todd Johnstone.
Oh yeah.
We went to Vietnam together. We partied together. We've known each other for years and years, ever since we were teenagers. His dad was first selectman.
Yeah.
And then you had Jim Spellman. You had Frank Turek for 2 years.
That's right.
2
Yeah.
years, just 2 years.
No.
Then you had, of course, Peter Dibble was elected, and then Nicky Keppel, and then Dibble again, and then what was it? Dibble and Brown and Marinell
Yeah.
and Haberek, and then George Krause, and then me. So I mean, this is a lot of people that sat in that office that we know, that I
Yeah,
know in my own
absolutely.
life.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know who was there before David Johnstone. I don't go back that far. But that's quite a long
Was
time
it
ago.
Spellman before that?
I don't think so. I thought Spellman came after.
I don't think so.
They might have swapped seats a
Yeah.
little bit, you know, because I thought David preceded Jim Spellman. And then Jim was there for 25 years. He was there a long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
Him and Eddie Coogan.
And Coogan was number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second selectman.
Forever.
Forever.
I liked Eddie.
Yeah. So what are we doing? Well, right now, tomorrow, we're getting ready for the storm.
Yeah.
So if the show is on tonight, we expect 6 to 8 inches max here in Stonington. We got the salt on the trucks. We got the spreaders and the plows ready, okay? If you're going to get stuff, get it tonight. The storm won't come until tomorrow night, but if you get it tonight, you won't worry about it tomorrow.
I think they've actually pushed it up to Saturday.
It could be Saturday. We don't know for sure. You know, I'm not predicting the weather.
No, and
I'm just trying to get things ready.
they make enough mistakes by themselves.
They make a lot of mistakes. They make a lot of mistakes. But you know, if you get water and you get food, I have a generator for my house, so I pull it out of my tool shed and bring it around, and I'll hook it up. So it's just in case, you know, something hits the wire, because 2 years ago we didn't have power for a week.
I know, and it was warmer.
It was warmer, but it was everything was down. The food in the refrigerator was down.
Yep, I empty out my refrigerator.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. A lot of money. We took it up. My wife's family has a farm, and because they got a farm, they got a generator on the farm.
Yeah.
And so we took it up and put it in her family's refrigerator, and that saved a lot of it.
Oh, sure.
But there's no hot water, so we go up there for the showers and to do the laundry.
Yeah.
That was a week.
Yeah.
I said, we're not going to do that again. I'll get one of those small generators, and that's worked out good.
Yeah, they come in handy,
Yeah.
and you can at least survive.
Yeah.
I remember we had a generator a couple years ago where I was living, and I hooked up a TV.
There you go. You got to have TV,
Gotta have
Tom.
entertainment, my friend.
You got to have TV. And so we're doing that. We're doing a budget now.
Yeah.
You know, last year we voted for the new school system, and so this year's budget we're looking to be very conservative in the budget, not to spend too much. We don't want to incur any debt if we can avoid it, because we want to pay off the debt we have, the bonds we have. We want to pay them off as much as we can, because once we begin this school project, we're going to have to sell bonds. And when you sell bonds, you're going to have to pay the interest.
Now, is that
So there's going to be a kick up in our bonding, so we have to be ready for that.
Is that going to affect all the schools?
It's going to affect,
Except the high school?
basically it's going to be a rebuild of the middles, bring them up to standard, and West Vine. We're not, you know, there was some talk about building a brand new school. We're not going to do that.
Okay.
We're going to bring the current buildings up to standard. The high school's already there.
And what about West Broad?
West Broad is a lot of discussion. Some people want to sell it.
Really?
I don't want to sell it. I think it's a beautiful building. There are people who want to sell it.
It's
They
a
want to
gorgeous
sell it.
building.
Well, you see, here's my idea, and it's just an idea. Okay, it's just an idea, because I'm not. You know, I think what happens to West Broad is going to take a while to figure that out. The superintendent of schools, Van Riley, is at the central office. Now, this is a quiz show. Where's the central office?
Oh, missed it.
Well, wait a minute. How can that be the central office,
I don't know.
Because that's not in the center. Old Mystic, that is way...
Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
There's a
That's
guess.
up at Route 184 on the Groton border. That's not the central office.
It's not even close.
Not even close. So try this one on for size. We take the superintendent from what they call the central office in West Mystic, and we move him down into the West Broad Street School that has been fixed up.
Yeah.
Now, he's close to West Vine. He's close to Pawcatuck Middle.
Yeah.
He's close to the high school.
Yeah.
Is that more like Central?
I would think.
I would think. But, you know, who am I to say? I inherited it. I didn't create it. I inherited it. But I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then what else do you put in a West Broad Street School? Well, pre-K, maybe adult education, maybe some other of the other offices for the superintendent. Maybe some of the folks that have administrative offices over at the high school would be better located over at West Broad, which becomes
Even some of the town hall offices.
some of town hall.
move in
When's the
there.
last time you were in town hall?
About a year or two.
Yeah. Well, I
Oh, no,
remember.
it was a few months ago.
I remember going into town hall when I was a kid growing up. You go in, it's a beautiful building, big open spaces, very nice. Both sides, you had the clerk, you had the first selectman, you had the tax collector, you had the judge of probate. Beautiful, very
Yep.
nice, right? And then you went upstairs. What did you have upstairs? You had a big open auditorium.
Yes,
Right?
that's right.
What do you see upstairs now?
Rooms.
It's a beehive.
Yeah.
It's like an anthill.
Jeez.
It's a beehive. It's an anthill. There's not even a hearing room for the Board of Selectmen and the other boards and agencies.
Yeah.
Every other town you go to, you go you go to Norwich, to the big town hall, beautiful space where you can have meetings, every night meetings with a nice panel, plenty of room for guests.
Yeah.
What do?
Go to school.
We go to the school common room on a plastic table,
Yeah.
or we go to the police station on a fold-out plastic table, or we go to Mystic Middle on a fold-out plastic table. You would think the town of Stonington was bankrupt. Well, I mean, it's just
It's just, you don't have any room.
There's no room.
No.
There's no space.
Yeah.
Now, I'm all for using the schools. I think that's great. It's great use of the buildings. But, when you look at the way the folks work in town hall, in that space, I tell you, it's they're packed in like
Yeah.
sardines.
Yeah, and then they got little spaces where they put rooms and built walls in.
Build walls, no windows. And the guy's in the basement. Go down the basement.
Oh,
In
yeah.
the basement. You're down like it's just packed tight. So that's a long-term plan. But I think that the town of Stonington would be very foolish to sell the West Broad Street School. What's going to go in there?
Yeah. Condos, just like Broadway School in Mystic.
No, I would argue not just like Broadway School and Mystic or the Borough School, because the Borough School has a view of the water, right?
Yes.
In the borough.
Yeah.
That's expensive real estate. The Broad Street School in Mystic is right in the center of Mystic. 1 million tourists a year, a tourist center.
Yeah.
My concern is if we put it up for sale, it's going to end up as the Elm Tree Inn Annex.
Oh. Yeah, we won't want that.
Well, think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about it.
Oh, yeah.
What are the economics? What are the economics of selling the West Broad Street School to whom? To people who want a halfway house? To people who want to rent out and provide services to folks with addiction services?
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to think about
Yeah,
what the
there's
market is
A
for
lot
it.
of things that can go wrong in there.
What did you just say? Now say it again.
There's a lot of things that can go wrong.
Say it one more time, Tom.
That's hard.
A lot of things can go wrong.
Yes.
And that's why, in my opinion, the town has to keep title.
Yeah.
The town has to keep
What?
charge.
Under the
Because there are people
conditions-
using it now. There are people in there now.
Oh, sure.
The kids in the playground.
Yeah.
And yeah, the
Why,
town,
why does it have to be closed?
well, it doesn't. I'm not for closing it.
You know, they're moving the kids all over.
I'm not for closing it. What I want to do, we now have a director of planning for the town of Stonington. I want him to go to the state and get some planning dollars. Now, we got a tight budget, but there's money out there.
Oh, yeah.
We just pulled in $150,000 for coastal assessments.
Really?
Yeah, $150,000.
Wow.
We just got it. We're going to get another $100,000, $80,000 for snow from FEMA for the snow. So we're bringing this money in.
Yeah.
That's a historic school. It's a historic building. It's a beautiful building. It's on West Broad Street. There's a lot of nice houses in that area.
Yeah.
We do not want it to get out of our control.
Yeah, no.
We don't want that.
I think it would be the best bet to keep it in the town and use it for the town meetings and whatever.
Use it. Can you imagine you're the superintendent of schools, you got parking in the back,
Plenty
people
of
park,
parking.
they come in the front door, beautiful staircase, you go in, there's beautiful woodwork and things, and they come down the corridor and here's your office. Well, shouldn't the superintendent of schools have a nice office in a school?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, That's, to me, that's a proper use to take that historic building and to continue to use it.
Now, what about Mayflower Avenue?
What about it? What is your thoughts about it?
Well, it's an iconic building.
Yeah, of course.
That's the high school.
That is.
I went there one year.
You're kidding?
No.
No kidding.
My freshman year, I went there, and then I went to the new school,
Right. That's right. That's right.
which is no longer that new school.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, we've got a permanent committee. Believe it or not, back I think in 2006, the town formed a permanent committee to study the future uses of town buildings. Okay? Now, we haven't heard much from that committee in recent years. I'm not sure why. It hasn't been very active. In fact, I'm not sure that the people that were put on it 10 years ago, 9 years ago, I think their terms have expired. Maybe maybe nothing came of it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I've been doing as a first selectman, I've only been in office for 60 days, is looking around to see what's out there and see what we need to do. Now, if we got a permanent committee to study the future uses of town property, we need to look at all the buildings.
Oh, yeah.
All the buildings.
And that's a beautiful building.
And it's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
So we need to look at all of these buildings. We need to look at what kind of open space we have. What kind of open space do we have? Behind the high school, there's the Spellman Park. That goes for quite a distance back there. We could have trails. Some people say we could have a dog park. And a dog park back there would not bother the neighbors.
That's true.
You know who the neighbors are?
Trains.
Yes. Bingo. Trains. And across the train track, the dump or the landfill.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, the landfill.
I read someplace, and I don't remember where or when, about the purchase of that property.
Yeah.
It was Wilson's Folly, they called it.
Yeah.
Wilson's Folly, because he spent $50,000 of the town's money on this useless piece of property.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Wow.
What's that property worth?
Yeah. Well, that's true. And of course, over in Pawcatuck on Mechanic Street, the big factories are behind a dike.
Yeah.
And they call that Spellman's Folly.
Ah.
But you know what? With the increased rain and high flood waters and all this kind of stuff going on,
Yeah.
to be able to close those gates, you provide protection
Absolutely.
for all of those factories, which
Yeah.
makes them a real asset for the town. The biggest problem we have with the Mechanic Street factories is they're zoned M1, which is traditional industrial.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so in other words, if you're a traditional industrial person, you want to come in for manufacturing, you can go in there. We need to change the zoning. We need to
Yeah.
have much more flexibility in what can go in there. Much more flexibility, because all the traditional manufacturing, it's gone. Look what they did in the borough with the Velvet Mill.
Oh, my God. I was just talking about that
Look
this
what they
afternoon.
did. Look what they did.
What a phenomenal building.
Is that traditional manufacturing? No.
No.
Is it a community center with lots of activity? Yes.
Yeah.
Do they have the farmers market in there in the winter?
Absolutely.
Yes. Do people go there every weekend?
Oh,
yes.
tons of people.
Tons of people.
And that's going to be a problem.
Well,
Parking.
they got parking on site,
Yeah.
but the factories also have parking.
Yeah.
They have parking.
Yeah, because I went there about a month ago.
Yeah.
And I went around that building 2 or 3 times before I bought a parking space.
Yeah, we have to look. You mean at the Velvet Mill?
The Velvet Mill.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get it usually in the back, but it shows that there's
Yeah.
a lot of a lot of activity.
It's a tremendous building, because I remember when it was emptied, I was going to rent a storage space in there. It was just this big old vacant place that
That's right.
kind of spooky.
Yeah.
And boy, today, some brilliant
It's very
ideas are in
active.
there.
And we have to be creative when we look at our old mills.
Yeah.
You know, the past is not going to come back.
No.
You got to look to the future and say, what are the future uses? What do people want? What are they looking for? And if you can be flexible in how these spaces can be used, then you have an opportunity to fill them up.
Yeah.
If the planning and zoning in Stonington is inflexible, there's only one way to do it, and that's the way we've always done it.
And
you
they've
know
been
what?
known to be like that.
They've known to be stubborn.
Oh, yeah.
If that's the case, then nothing's gonna happen. They're just gonna sit empty.
My idea is that if I want to build something, I go to zoning and say, this is what I want.
Yeah.
You tell me what I got to do.
That's right. Yeah.
Don't tell me that, no, can't do it.
Well, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And that's what it should be. We should be working with the people to give them the opportunity to get it done the right way.
Well, that's exactly right. And we just updated the plan of conservation and development. We made development a priority within the character of the town. You know, we don't want, up in Vermont years ago, there was this factory where they made cheese. And the building was in the shape of a humongous cheese, and about a 5-story mouse was standing over the cheese. We don't want that here.
No, I don't
We
think
don't want
so.
that kind of development.
Yeah.
We want it to be within the character of the town. But we want to be more friendly to people that are willing to come in here and invest their money in hotels, motels, and restaurants, and wine bars, and event centers. I mean, people come up here from New York and New Jersey to get married. They don't go to Martha's Vineyard.
No.
Because Mystic and Stonington, it's Martha's Vineyard without the ferry boat ride.
That's right.
And so it's cheaper and it's a wonderful experience.
And Mystic's kind of cramped. There's not too many new developments going to go down there.
No.
Old Mystic's available. Route 2 is
Route 2.
prime. I don't know what.
Well, and of course there's been a lot coming up Liberty Street and past the old, what was that old place on the west side of Route 2 Liberty Street where they had rides and things. What was Park? What was that called? Yeah, Fairview, Seaview, something.
Yeah.
It was run by a man and his wife. Wonderful people.
You
And it's now it's just
Ponzi
now it's
scheme or
weeds.
something.
It's just weeds now.
And they had it sold at one point.
They did.
And then it fell apart.
Yeah, but now across the street there's a motel. You got Bill's Tractor up there. You go further up, you've got the supermarket, the movie
It's growing
theaters.
a little.
It's come along.
I just got a 2-minute warning.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Wow, that was fast.
I'm talking too much.
Oh, you're talking just right, because that's what we want.
Okay.
I hate to have to drag the words out.
Yeah, that's no fun.
Due to programming and scheduling, there'll be a rerun next week, but watch it anyway, so it'll be good. And maybe if you're like me, you won't remember it anyway. Get your storm gear ready for the weekend. We'll get snow, as Rob just said, about 6 or 8 inches, and get that extra food, batteries, and battery-operated lamps just in case. And we're now paying for the wonderful weather we had in December.
That's right.
It's our fault. So,
Yeah.
how about a shout out for Dorian? Hashtag D-Strong. He's such a brave boy, suffered for many, many years. And if everybody out there puts in a good word with your God, maybe he'll be with us a little longer. And
That'd be nice.
it would be have a great welcome when he goes up there. God bless you, Dorian, and your family. And you've gotten not only just the town, you got the world together.
The world.
For that kid. And that's just so powerful.
It is amazing. That's
It
social
is.
media. It's amazing, you know?
It is. Facebook is tremendous.
Yeah.
In the event of a snowstorm, I think you should cuddle up with a good book, like one of the ones Rob brought, that 13 Hours looks good.
Here they are. We got a couple of good ones.
You should be reading, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. A lot of fun.